All right, Htp family. You're tuning into the pro-black perspective on KWAZ radio. I'd like for you to, congratulate you or thank you for joining me today. Uh, what I'm going to do is, obviously, I'm going to open up uh, this video on my phone so that the two of us can watch this together. But with all of us can watch this together. But it looks like it's kind of, I just got to figure out how to do that. Mostly because the phone's always slower. But I got the link now. All right. Here's what it is. Right. 2 weeks ago, we had this revolutionary brainstorming session. It was nice. It was good. It was what I wanted. Right. Now here's the issue. Right. It's as you would expect. Now, there's so many lessons in there, and this is why I want to go over this with you. We had this 2-hour discussion. It was several of us. Half of the people didn't show up. Okay, but that's expected. All right, that's expected. You want to try to get Pan-African power, right? And what you're going to realize, I want you to realize something about this life in general. It's that if you want something, then go get it. If you want something, then you have to go get it, because the reality is that you cannot, like a lot of times people don't want to, you don't want to blame the victim, okay? We as an African people, we are oftentimes portrayed as the victim of other people, right? And it's true. Well, it's we're the target of other people. We're not necessarily the victim. But a lot of times it becomes, the old adage is this, that you can't free anybody else. You can only free yourself. If that. If you can free yourself, the only person you can free is yourself. You can't free other people. And I'm not going to, and I mean, this is just an interesting thing, okay? I don't know if you guys remembered from the podcast. I listened to it today, the revolutionary brainstorming session, and towards the end, it was kind of embarrassing. Here we are, a collective of Africans coming together to, build something. To say that we are doing something. And then we kind of went down into squabbling, bickering, and arguing. And it would have been all right if the same energy, or if that energy for transformation, that energy for change, continued into the final process, into the process that we were going. But as you heard, I only got so many volunteers, right? Afterward, after everything was said and done, after the time spent, I only got so many volunteers. And even when it came to the volunteers, I could say that only one of them actually directly wrote anything for the for the program that we're trying to for the writing thing we were trying to implement, and maybe another one gave a critique, gave some critical commentary, right? But outside of that, so that means that even though only a handful of people from the original group, could have written or would have written, even in that it was only two of them, and you could actually see, because here's a document that I decided to put together. And when I say I decided to put together, I shouldn't say it that way, but you could see it has a version history, and you could see who edited it, and almost like you could almost say, hey, look, from November 14, November 16, November 17, a lot of it is going to be only 54. That's me. No, my last name is not 54. But all right, and then you see anonymous user on 2 days after, and that's I mean, I don't know if I should just name drop people, but that's just one of the brothers that was pretty cool, and he did his edits, but it made me realize that, in truth, I had to do the writing, so I'm still grateful for the process. I'm still grateful for the communication, because it gave me something to work with, but it kind of really highlights, because I want, it's like the motto comes from Cabral where he says, tell no lies, claim no easy victories, and hide nothing from the masses. So I want you to know that even if you get together a group of Africans, right, to do something collectively together, you still may end up having to do 90% of the work. All right? That should not discourage you. Okay? That should encourage you to not wait on anybody. All right? That should encourage you. And the reality is this too, that like I said, I got some critique. I got some insight, and I got some critique from people who weren't necessarily committed to the project regardless. I just showed them this slide, for instance, and the slide prior, and they said they preferred this slide, this new slide, right? This slide and the one that it was edited from, and they said prefer this slide, and that was valuable too. Like, always just go out and seek, more opinions, right? And then, that's on you, and you just ask blandly. Like I have let's say 1,500 people on my Twitter. One person responded, but that was enough. I have there's maybe 100 something people on the Discord. One person responded. That's enough. Just be grateful for what you get and what you have, and just keep moving forward and try to have the finished product. And even though, like I said, I was listening to that older revolutionary session. I was listening to the session, and I personally like listening to it. I'm just like, this is embarrassing. It's embarrassing in the sense that like I could hear my composure slipping. Because essentially our people want to argue. People want to, but at the end of the day, it's like, it doesn't matter what any opinions are, right? What matters is that we get together and do the work. I see Brother Koku came in. But yeah, what matters is that we get together and do the work. So this is what the process is. I'm going to try to explain to you why it looks like it does, because what I want from you is to be able to do the same and better. If you're not going to do it with me, right, I want you to do better than me. Okay? If you're not, like I can say it again, if you're not going to do it with me, I want you to do it better than me. Because as long as we as a base do this well, right, like we'll be doing a lot more. All right? So, and of course, I can even give you the philosophy behind this. So, like I just said, Koku just kept stepped in. If you remember from the slide, from the revolutionary session, Koku was like, I try to express the benefits up front. And so these were, originally this was, you can probably see, I can show you the how it started out. Let's say you go back to the 14th, and it starts out with, okay, nothing, I guess. All right, so right here it says 4 benefits of Pan-African unity, right? And the human rights for all Africans, increased employment, productivity, reduced cost of living. Like, basically, I just made a template. I organized, like, how many pages it was going to be, what to, so on and so forth. Kind of gave the skeleton for what was going to fill in, so on and so forth. Like I said, there were people who added. One person. I don't want to name drop, right? One person did add, some stuff in here. And I was appreciative of it because you could read it, you could get familiar with the whole thing, right? Now jump forward, I kind of filled it in, and you can see like eventually, like for instance, this one is it's race standard. Like at one point it's human rights for all Africans, and it's this kind of language, right? Like I said, another brother told me he doesn't like human rights as a subject because it sounds like Zungu stuff, which was kind of silly, but it was decent, I took it anyway because I started to realize, and this is something I want for everybody to understand, is that, or even like Koku says on his program, you want to highlight to people the benefits and the benefits, right? So way how I usually phrase that is in the war narrative, which is, you want to show people the punishment and the punishment and the rewards, you know. And so I can't remember exactly, like, you know, it's hard to remember exactly what it is, but also it's like you want to have a concrete example. So I think it was also Amilcar Cabral who said that people are looking for the material benefits, you know, to increase their standard of living, as opposed to, you know, the ideas in your head. So, you know, human rights is a little bit vague, you know, is a little bit, what are you really trying to say? And a little bit of that Wazungu nonsense in a sense. Whereas, you know, standard of living is kind of like, you know, it's more direct. You can understand it, and the reality is this: you could use any term you want. You know, I can even explain, just break down how, like, the writing template works for this, which is basically, I said to myself, I'm going to start off with, well, eventually I changed it, but at this point I was like, it's going to be like, what's the usefulness? You know, when you're listening to something, like when you're looking for something, a product, you say, what's the usefulness, right? Then I'll say, what's the punishment? And then I will go, what is it that I want from you to do? And then, of course, it's what is the reward. Now, not everything follows that exactly, but this one does. So, as you see, the use of let's say, organizing with us to get this Pan-African power. So, I also changed the whole intent of this project, because, like I said, from the revolutionary brainstorm, even though it was frustrating, even though it was tasking and tiring, you know, it did kind of, you know, ground me in the sense of saying, you know, be clear of what you want, you know, and how you know, whatever. And of course, you know, outside of that, I started looking into, you know, things that I could do, and I realized that what I could do is what would be like adult education. Namely, if you guys know I mean, you guys should know the weekly worship. From the weekly worship, I have like, I go over the Pan-African Wisdom series, right? And so from the weekly worship, I want to do that with a broader base of African people. Not just that, I want to go over some real deep African study, you know, with different books, Carlos A. Cook's, you know, maybe When We Ruled, and you know, Drusilla Dungy Houston, Chancellor Williams. I want to go over that deeply with different select groups of Africans, and I think that would really push us forward, because that's a skill that I have, you know, and it's really like, and that's something that I like to do, you know. So you know, it's like, realistically speaking, in this world, and this is just regular advice, but in this world, you want to go forth and do what you have the talent, skill, and desire to do. And I mean, it's better if you can possibly, what was it? Like, make it commercial. It's better if you could possibly make it commercial. Now, I don't really, like, I could technically make this commercial, you know, but it would probably be better if I did it, you know, if I didn't charge for the lessons, you know. Now, obviously, if you wanted to put a donation or something, that's fine. But I realized that for a more massive scale, particularly because international finances aren't up to the standard that I want it to be, you know. Because it's not there, I won't necessarily, like, expect to charge people internationally. So I don't really, like, I don't really need that kind of money like that desperately. You know, whatever. So anyway, so let's see, race standard of living. I'll just go over this one. Race standard of living is the dignity and standard of every African depends on Pan-African power. So you could see, well, first off, you start off with the title, which is race standard of living, so everybody knows what's going on. You have the images on the left that with the caption that kind of expresses everything in a whole, which is, you know, Marcus Garvey's "The only protection against injustice in man is power, physical, financial, and scientific." Right? Now you have the use. What is the value here? How does this help you? And it's that the dignity and standard of every African depends on Pan-African power. That's it, right? Now, what's the punishment for not having Pan-African power? So it's without it, many are unjustly denied access to clean water, clean air, and clean energy. So, and this is something that everybody can understand, you know? Whether you're on the continent, whether you're not on the continent, you know, you kind of understand the need for clean water, the need for clean air, the need for clean energy, and how these are not universal, right? And so now you have the instruction. So the instruction is, when we organize for power, we can institute societies that provide for our well-being. right? And now you have the, I think the reward, right? It wouldn't take much for us to have increased access to medical facilities, educational institutions, public resources, and equitable work that rewards equal pay for equal work. You know, a race where individual safety and comfort is guaranteed for most is assured when we intelligently organize, right? So that's another part of the instruction, if you will. But we need to organize for Pan-African power. So it kind of shows you how necessary it is to organize for Pan-African power, right? So the point of this is that I'm looking to get people to join this organization. Okay? What I'm going to do is I'm obviously going to, I mean, you see it if you look at the YouTube channel, you'll see that in the description you can see a link to this particular thing, right? You can, do the share, you can do the screenshot, you can even share it yourself, whatever it is that you want to do, and get it into more people's hands, right? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite people into the Discord for the particular purpose of organizing. Right now, Discord is kind of like a lot of conversation, but for the particular point of scheduling different what would you call it, like educational sessions, right? Informative sessions. That's really what I want, because again, that's going to have an impact across the world, and that's what we can do. That's what I can do easily, whether in person or digitally, and it would be great. So I'm just going to go through it, all of it, everything. So let me just say, so the 4 goals of Pan-African power is raise standard of living, increase access to wealth. See, I changed it from something more robust, which was, let's see, increased employment, productivity, and technology, which made sense, but it's just like, let's just keep it simple, We're looking to build wealth for our people, right? So increased access to wealth, right? Great scientific and technology-oriented minds have already outlined a bright and wealthy future for African people, okay? They already did. Poverty is a norm and we neither study nor implement our studies. Physicists and linguists Cheikh Anta Diop published Black Africa, the Economic and Cultural Basis of a Federated State in 1987. If even a handful of determined Africans use his and other works, most of our people would enjoy food, energy, and industrial independence. Pan-African power will grant us wealth. So you kind of see, I get this. Now, obviously, I'm going to try to, do this as a presentation. Actually, let me do it right now, actually. But I'm going to try to do this as a presentation, maybe for a YouTube video or something, right? And then just, go on from there. All right. To the next one. So this is a reduced cost of living. I got a picture of Carolina Maria de Jesus. I don't really like her last name, but, it is what it is. So she says, actually, we are slaves to the cost of living, right? And that's really the condition that a lot of us find ourselves in, that because of the high cost of living, we are forced to work for other people. And maybe I should just explain this to you guys instead of just reading through it. I want to explain it to you, particularly if you want to engage somebody else on this subject matter. But once upon a time, I did walk into this kid, and I told him, and he called me the N-word, right? Like, there's a black brother, there's a black kid, and he called me, like, he was just like, not call me the N-word, but, he was like, nah, N-word, N-word, N-word. No, he was just saying something like, nah, N-word, I can't do this, or whatever. And I was just like, don't use that word because it's associated with slavery, right? And he was like, yeah, but slavery was a long time ago, blah, blah. I'm like, no, slavery is right now, in the sense of, even if I were to, let's say, pay you $1,000 an hour, right? If I was to pay you $1,000, if I were to invite you to an island, right? If I said I'd pay you $1,000 an hour, and I invited you to an island, right, where you had to work, right? If the cost of bread was, let's say $20,000, right? Then pretty much pretty much you're enslaved by me, because you still have to work how many hours to get that bread. And what it tells you is that regardless of your income, in a sense, if you do not have that, let's say, that food independence, right? If you cannot provide for the cost of living outside of another people, then the other people are enslaving you. I mean, there's a better way to explain it, but hopefully you kind of get what I'm saying. It's in this sense that you know, in fact, this is how white folk colonized Africa. It's like they came to Africa and they said, hey, we want access to your mines, right? And the Africans were like, sure, okay, whatever, who cares? You want to go down to the mines? We were mining there, but it's fine. You can do whatever you want, right? And then they realized that nobody would leave their farm, right, to go and work in the mines, So what they did was that they took the farmland from African people, So once you take the farmland from us, then it's like, well, how are we going to eat? Well, if you go down to the mines, I'll give you a couple of dollars and then you could buy some food, And that's really like how like the whole system is set up, It's the same reason why these white boys killed off all those buffalo, If they didn't kill off all the buffalo, right, then the natives wouldn't try to work for them. And nobody, like everybody was just trying to work for the natives, because they had all the buffalo, and you didn't have to do any hard labor, But we're going to continue. So without Pan-African power and strong African economies, many Africans are subjected to slavery. Now here I'm talking about real slavery, not real slavery, but like chattel slavery, right? So in some countries there's open human trafficking. And in many others, children are work in domestic servitude that deprives them of education, which often invites untold abuses. Moreover, most Africans around the world are caught in wage slavery, right? That underpays but overworks them. With Pan-African power, we can control pay, workload, and reduce the cost of living. So this one's not, I'll admit it's not that descriptive of the cost of living part. But it's like, you can only do so much in like a blurb, you can only do so much, but you also see the internationality of it, because the children working in domestic servitude is a common thing across the continent, but also in the diaspora, and of course wage slavery is just something that most everybody is engaged in, including white folk. All right, so empowerment of African cultures, ancient and contemporary. So this one's actually interesting. I was speaking to a sister, and she told me that I should definitely do something in regards to global warming. So it says, the assault against African cultures is manifold. People are murdered, languages are disappearing, writing systems are neglected, ways of relating are lost, and even the lakes and rivers are vanishing. Okay? Since the 1960s, Lake Chad has lost 80% of its surface area. This lake, which bordered Nigeria, Niger, Cameroon, and Chad, provided a livelihood for millions of Africans. Yet, like so many ecological disasters resulting from climate change, it expands poverty, war, and disease in Africa and will not be fixed until we organize a solution. Only with Pan-African power can we solve ecological international crisis, whether through leverage, intimidation, or technological innovation. We need Pan-African power, or many will unnecessarily perish. So this one's really concrete, a really concrete image. You can see 1973, this is what Lake Chad looked like. It was huge, right? And then in 2017, this is what it looks like. And you have to realize, well, if you can sympathize or if you can empathize, what you'll understand is that a lot of people lose their livelihood if they are bordering, particularly if they're bordering this lake, So the people who had, commercial enterprises along these lines have no more business, The only people that keep their business are the people around here, but now the people who are around here are coming closer to this, because that's what they knew, and this is only 40 years, This is only 40 years. So Africa is really bleeding. It's really suffering. The children. This is a clean source of water, or a potentially clean source of water. This is I'm sure there are rivers that were provided that could have had electrical potentiality, so on and so forth. These kind of things are lost, and the reality is that, and of course it's bigger than, one or two of us, and it's bigger than one or two of our nations. This is not Nigeria. Like Nigeria, it's Nigeria's problem, it's Nigeria's problem, it's Cameroon's problem, it's Chad's problem. And so we have to figure out how to work together so that this can be worked out together. You know, hopefully that makes sense. So then, this is another pamphlet. It's just from the original, template, which was, original template was going to just give you a preview of everything to come. So, but instead of doing that, that was kind of cheesy. I just said, how can we get Pan-African power? And of course, I show Jean-Jacques Dessalines, and I say he exercised Pan-African power and established an empire of freedom. Then this is what I'm looking for you guys, right? So I say study the study the Pan-African Wisdom series with Kerouan Wankobia. So that's what I really want to do. I say study the best. Most pundits and books are Pan-Africanist and evolutionary. However, these free, easy-to-read quote books communicate African liberation. Now, communicate's a weak word, but maybe I'll edit that, maybe I won't. But it is what it is. This is books. These are the books. So I put up a whole link of all these books for free. Let's go. So use Pan-African wisdom in every context you can. So my thing is this: that if you just did the Pan-African Wisdom series and didn't want to organize, didn't want to do anything, that's still fine. Okay? That's still fine. And my thing is this too, that I originally, so this is the one I want to start off with, Greatest Orators. I want to do Greatest Orators. I mean, you'll see. But ancient Africans understood the power behind words and how every relationship, the key to all problems is the problem of consciousness. So ancient Africans, this is African power. Ancient Africans understood the power behind words and how every relationship can be built on or destroyed by them. After we study, if we engage our people with our best examples and aspirations for power, we'll achieve a Bibi Fahodie. So it's join organizations, host studies, or casually chat with Pan-African wisdom, and our future is ours. And this is like something general, Like if you just study Pan-African wisdom, right? But you engage it in every context you can, right? You're doing a lot for our people. It's not necessarily doing some organizational, institutional work or anything like that, but at the same time, you're doing a lot for our people because it's like you're injecting the Pan-African wisdom into the community, and you're opening up the narrow-mindedness. You're opening up our people towards that the eventual, unity that we need, So I would say, if nothing else, I want people to just study the literature and then, come through with that, right? And so, of course, the other one is, of course, share this. So share this is you just share this thing, and it says Kerouan Wankobia is looking to build Pan-African power. So I just want you to share it. So what is Kerouan Wankobia? So that's the big question. So it's like we host free leadership training in order to build Pan-African wealth and community. And my thing is this: that if we're looking to get our people into the position of the positions of wealth or the positions of opportunity, if I want to advise you to work with somebody, I want you to be on point. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like I said, I had this friend who I contacted, right? And I was like, hey, you got any business ideas? Because I had a couple of dollars I wanted to, I wanted to see if I could make it into more dollars, right? And so I contact this person, and they say, yeah, I got plenty of ideas. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. You got plenty of ideas. They then tell me, they say, oh, I say, what time you want to meet? They say, oh, we'll meet on this day, so on and so forth. We'll meet on this day. I say, what time? On that day, they tell me 5 o'clock. So at 3 o'clock, I ask them. No, at 4 o'clock, I say, hey, is 5 o'clock still good? Yeah, it is. And then 5 o'clock comes. No, 4:50 comes, and they're like, how is 6 o'clock? And the thing is that, you already know. You can't do business with this kind of people. You already know that when we talk about the opportunity that passes us by, a lot of times, you could see in our own discipline, in our own behaviors that, there's no way that things would be well off for you if you have no discipline anyway. If you don't have knowledge, if you don't have information, there's no way that things are going to be well off for you anyway. You know, so even though, of course, there's this conspiracy against people having, you know, wealth in a sense, right? There's this conspiracy, if you will, right? But really, you have to understand that if, you know, it's kind of like what Marcus Garvey said, which was, intelligence rules the world and ignorance carries the burden. You know, if you cannot, you know, this same person, like if I tell you about this business, like this business transaction, and there's another person actually, same kind of business thing where they were like broke, they're always broke, right? And they said, you know, if I just had a couple of dollars, I could start a new business, and with that new business, I would have wealth. So then me, you know, like I said, I'm looking at investing, you know, black folks. So I said, okay, here's the startup money, right? It wasn't that much startup money, so I was like, that's nothing, you know. Here's the startup money. They're like, wow, you're so generous, right? A week or two later, they're telling me, oh, well, I can't even do this. I'm too busy. You know? But it's like that's the situation that we find ourselves in, where it's like we have a lot of talk, we have a lot of, you know, whatever, but then the discipline is not there. So the discipline and the knowledge is not there. So what this leadership training is going to be about is obviously that, the discipline and the knowledge. I mean, of course, I mostly emphasize the knowledge. I should probably emphasize the discipline because I'm going over it while I'm talking about it. But this is really what leadership is about. You know, that discipline and that knowledge. You know, so of course, you know, all these stages are in Swahili. You know, and I give the translation. So Kuanzisha, right? Kuanzisha is the page-by-page due discussion on Pan-African wisdom, greatest orators. So that would be if you wanted to be an initiate in a sense, right? If you wanted to come into this organization, right, and eventually reach the last stage, right? I want you to first come in and go over the Pan-African Wisdom series, the Pan-African Greatest Orators with me. If nothing else, that's what I want you to do. I want you to say, hey, you know what? When you go over this in a group, invite me. All right. Next one is Mwanafunzi, right? That's the student stage, right? So after you've done that, I want to have a holistic group discussion on the 4 books. Okay. So instead of me, so we can go page by page on the Pan-African Wisdom Greatest Orators. After that, I want to have a group discussion on all 4 so that we can really, you know, get on the same page. Now, after that, of course, you know, you're going to have the Untafiti stage, right? So that's the one-to-one inquiry on the Ankobia reading list. And you already know what the reading list looks like if you have the Book of Power, right? I mean, obviously, there's some edits like, you know, Kwame Nkrumah's, what was it? Handbook on Revolutionary Warfare. But it's like, if you can read these 12, 13 books, or whatever you can get your hands on, right? If you can read them, then that's what I want to inquire you on. And if I engage you on those, and I see that you've studied them well enough, right? Or anybody who's training you, anybody who's inquiring studies you well enough, then of course that's the Unjugaji stage, right? Or I would say the Ankobia stage, and that's where you're going to be the global network of informed leaders. So basically, and so when you're a part of that stage, that's where I would say, yeah, you know, let's work together. You know what I mean? Like I know your knowledge base is solid. You know, somebody's shown that your knowledge base is solid. Because again, like I said, a lot of us tend to engage Pan-Africanism, revolutionary stuff, you know, woke, you know, consciousness, you know, that kind of stuff. And it's just not a solid knowledge base for us to really work together. You know, I just saw this video. Sister just showed me this video of this dude who's just talking nonsense about, you know, COVID and vaccines and all that, and it's just like, you're wasting my time, and he's just trying to grift. He's just trying to make a dollar off of telling you to eat, eat salmon or something like that, or get vitamin D, get the sunlight, you know, which is like common sense, but it's just like, you know, it's really not enough. And when we're talking about, you know, building power and building building liberation, right? It's not enough to just tell people, oh yeah, you should get some sunlight. Like that's, like you know, you don't really have a sunlight problem if you're, like, you won't really have a sunlight problem if you're focused on, like at the end, like it's just I don't even want to go into it really. But let's say must graduate each stage to advance to the next, and scheduling is on demand. So I'm not gonna have a fixed schedule. I figured I kind of wanted to do everything like at least once a month. But I understand if people like not everybody can show up Sunday or Saturday or Thursday. If I used to get a handful of people to show up on whatever it is, then I could just do it because it is what it is. This is what I like doing. This is what I want to do. Oh, hold on a second. The presentation thing, the screen wasn't even showing when I did the presentation. That's crazy. Okay, so I didn't realize. How come nobody told me that? I'm looking at this thing on thing. So yeah, you can kind of see what I was reading through. This is the map and all that kind of stuff. This was Carolina Maria de Jesus. This is the Pan-African Power. This is the study, the Pan-African Wisdom series. This is the page. Blah blah blah. This is the page I was just reading. But of course, like I said, you can kind of click it on the YouTube description. Oh, was it? Oh. Alright, Bit of Medicine said it was showing on YouTube. I don't even know because I was just like, well, I was looking on my phone and I didn't see nothing, so it just looked like it was the same page. But all right, let's see. So now let's finish that. So it says we're building institutions throughout Africa and the African world. So as resources become available to us and opportunities avail themselves, right? The Umjagaji will share how we can take advantage, right? So if we're going to talk about taking advantage of the of Africa and taking the opportunities that there are, like opportunities avail themselves, like you want it to be with the people who studied, okay, who studied African philosophy, who studied African history, who know, Chancellor Williams, destruction of black civilization, who know of ancient Kush, and who know of Ma'at, who know of that kind of stuff. Like you want to kind of limit the opportunity building, the opportunity sharing with those people, because the reality is that, like, I feel like, to me at least, when you have that kind of a deep understanding of Garveyism, when you have that deep understanding of revolutionary warfare, when you have that deep understanding of Africa, right? That's when I think that you are ready for it. Like when you're ready to take this bull by the horns. If you don't have that understanding, and that's the thing that a lot of our people do, like we don't have that understanding. We have some understanding of something, but if you don't have that deep understanding, then it's we're gonna mess up. So right here you can kind of see the greatest weapon against the African is, and then it tells you what it is, right? Anyway, so as resources become available to us and opportunities avail themselves, the Umjagaji will share how we can take advantage. The greatest weapon against us is well known. There are strategies for overcoming our enemies, and after we study, we can network and build institutions that will lead to the liberation of Africans at home and abroad. Copy your forebears, for work is carried out through knowledge. That's Keti Yasaba. So, why do I say that? Like again with the opportunity thing, it's like there's gonna be buildings that go for sale. All over the continent, there's gonna be buildings that go for sale. Who are you gonna tell that to? Or even like let's say, like let's say somebody says, hey, Oni, I like what you're doing. Here's this amount of money. Put it to good use, right? I say, of course, I'm gonna put it to good use, and I put it to good use in building and like purchasing a building. Who's gonna be in the building? Who's gonna be there? Or if I publish or if I buy a real estate, real estate throughout Africa, right? These kind of projects that we can undertake, right? It's supposed to go to those who are willing to actually study, our predecessors that were most actively or most fervently Pan-African. One of the books on the Alcobia list, for instance, is this book called African Philosophy, right? I think it's called African Philosophy, but it's like it shows the philosophy of Africans from way back and how they relate to the philosophies of Africans today, like traditional African thought, and it's like that's the kind of unity of thought that I want you to study. So that even if you buy this property, like even if we buy this property, for instance, in let's say we get a property in let's say the Gambia. We get this property in the Gambia, right? We understand that like the door is open to others. The same as if we get a property in Rwanda, we understand the property is open to others. You know, like we want, and like we come from a people of 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 similarities. More so than the people of differences. You know, so I really think that's and there's gonna be people who say, yeah, I believe that, but again, if they don't have the same intellectual background, unfortunately, a lot of times is that you're gonna find a lot of people who are all about Pan-African, like I said, the Pan-Africans. You're gonna find these kind of people who are all about these kind of things, and it's gonna think and it's just whatever. So Thabo says he can't access the document. I'll try to fix that later. But thanks for letting me know. So of course this is of course how do I join? This is gonna be it. You can see it says 158 members. 13 were online at the point. So it's like join the Discord. The Discord is a free private service we can use to host private conferences and communicate and coordinate regularly, right? So it's like let us know your and of course I have the asterisks, right? Because I said we have the Kalo, which is a private African-owned service as well, And then just for those people who are just like, wait, why should I do a white man's thing? And to let us know you're interested in Karawan and Kobia, just type Boko Waset na Kero in the hashtag welcome channel, and then of course I give the link. So I'm going to share this again. Obviously I'm going to fix the link if it's not working for some people. I'm going to fix the link. And outside of that, that's pretty much what I'm gonna do about that. That's it. I'm gonna show you that you guys can share this. You guys can go over this with other people. But this is pretty much what it is. Like you have the revolutionary brainstorming session, right? You and then you go out and you do the work that needs to be done. You ask people to help. Some will help, some won't. Some will say they will help, some will say they won't help, right? That's fine. That's perfect. At the end of the day, you just use your skill, your talent, and decide what you want to do on this planet. What you can do and what you are here for. I can do this. I can do these free virtual training sessions, right? I could even coordinate, on a larger scale what kind of things that we want to get done, what kind of things we want to accomplish, right? But otherwise, that's pretty much it. Like you ask for help, you get help, and you just feel appreciative and grateful, and you make whatever kind of product you think you can make, and along the way it helps you out. You talk to people, you engage people. People will tell you, look, global warming. People will tell you, look, benefits. People will tell you, I don't like human rights, and you just take it all into account. Some things people tell you, sometimes people tell you something else, and you're just like, well, yeah, I'll take it under consideration. But that's it. You figure out what do you have at your disposal. I have these Pan-African Wisdom series. They're really good. And I figure, look, that's going to be an easy way to get people informed and radicalized and on the same page, and then you just think of what you can do. Again, what can you do? Really that's all that you really have to consider. Just what it is that you can build, and then you just go out and build it. But thanks to everybody for listening. If there's anybody who has any questions or comments or concerns, let me know now. I see Brother Koku's here. Always good to hear from this brother. So I don't know if he has anything he wants to add as well.
Well, a quick question, I guess. What's the next step?
Oh, the next
Like,
step.
yeah, like, is there something happening in 2 more weeks? Like, what should we be prepared for?
Oh yeah. So next step. Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, I'm looking to enroll and enlist people for January class. You know,
Okay.
for the
Okay.
January training sessions. I feel like after you had because we didn't really know. I didn't really know what we were gonna do for an organization. I think I had one thing in mind. Uh, like all of us going out to engage folk, but I realized that it might not be feasible or trackable, or like you can't really hold people accountable in that sense. So like I said, you just got to do like I figure I'm just gonna do what I can do, and
Yeah.
hopefully people can go along with it. Because the reality is that particularly if you remember from this conversation, everybody kind of figures out. Like a lot of people, particularly when they reach our stage, you know, kind of know what they want to do, or have an idea of what they want to do. And if that's the case, particularly with the people that we were there, if that's the case, then they can do that. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to hold anybody back. You know,
Mhm.
but also it's like but on the same turn, you don't want to ask anybody to hold themselves back. You know,
Right. Right.
so I mean uh, up to like I would ask of our people to just share this presentation that I just wrote up. That I wrote up, not the one that not this recording, but share the presentation. I'm probably gonna make it a YouTube video. For the value in there. Uh, but otherwise, that's pretty much the whole of what I can expect or say.
Okay.
Yeah. But all right, boss. Yeah, I think that's a. Oh no, did you have another question?
Nah, I'm good for now.
All right. So
All
it
right.
looks like nobody else has a question. So I appreciate everybody for listening and tuning in, and thanks so much. And Bibi Fahodia, and of course, 2021 is going to be that year, right? Let's make it so. All right, Shani Hotep family.